Welcome back, 8:30. We're live across the UK. JK on Breakfast at Talk, Zone of Common Sense and Free Speech. It's where alarm clock Brits come to speak. Thank you to Sarah Vine, author and columnist for The Mail. She will be a regular on this show from next week. Right, to prove to people that you are dedicated to politics, you have to stand on the green outside the House of Parliament in an 80-mile-an-hour... Look at this, poor man. Andy Street, former mayor of the West Midlands and co-founder yesterday of a brand new political moment with Ruth Davidson, Prosper UK. Are you there? Because I can't bloody see you, man. What's going on?
I can hear you. I trust you can see me as well, and it's a miserable day down here. But dedication, as you say.
Dedication. Andy, welcome. Yesterday, you and Ruth Davidson announced Prosper UK has been formed to support a Conservative party that is focused on growth, opportunity and responsible government with respect for our institutions. What does that mean? What is Prosper? How did it come about? Tell us more, my friend.
Yeah, of course. So it is a new movement, very important word rather than a party. So It's a movement that will get out across the country and it'll do research on the issues that are really facing Britain at the moment. So around jobs, around housing, around opportunities for youngsters. And then it will put those ideas forward that we form to particularly the Conservative Party to say adopt these ideas, and ultimately we want to see a centre-right government that delivers on those critical issues. That's what it's all about. And it's come about because we've done our research, which says about 7 million people who describe themselves as centre-right voters say there's no party currently advocating for them. So it's almost the politically homeless, and we're hoping to answer their concerns.
So a think tank, a political movement, a pressure group, is this something that the Tory leadership is supportive of? Why can't you do that under the auspices of the Tory party?
So it's all of those things. Yes, we've got to do some thinking. And, you know, at a time in opposition for parties, they should do lots of dynamic thinking. Margaret Thatcher did it, Tony Blair did it,
Are you implying that the current Tory party isn't doing that thinking by setting this up, Andy?
No, I didn't say that, actually, and I've talked directly to Kemi Badenoch about this, and I think she would agree that actually the more ideas that come forward are right. But one thing we particularly want to focus on as well is business and the economy, because we know that none of the issues, from how we're going to spend more money on defence, from how we're going to actually get more jobs, can occur if we don't engage business and get them really investing again. So a big part of our mission will be to talk to businesses across the UK.
So Kemi is... I'm just trying to get an angle on it, because we're really happy to talk about every single angle, but Kemi is aware of this. It wasn't her idea. This is a movement, a think tank, a research unit set up by you and Ruth Davidson. Now, I'm not even taking aim at you. I just want to lay facts out for people. You say that 7 million people you've discovered of a centre-right persuasion are politically homeless. Does that imply that the Tory party, and this is I need to get this out, the Tory party, if you ask the millions who have moved to reform, would say, Andy, that the Tory party, led by people like you, and I'm being totally respectful because that's what I've been told this morning by many people, that you guys moved the Tory party too much to the centre. Under Johnson, it was about net zero, the Boris wave, all those things, and the reason that reform has grown, the reason there have been so many defections is not about the far right, that reform now speaks the very language that the Tory party abandoned, and with it they lost millions of votes.
No, that's not what this is about, Jeremy. That boundary between the Conservative Party and Reform has been a lot talked about over the last few days, hasn't it? And, you know, so much has been dedicated there. This is about the other side of the Conservative Party. This is actually about saying we lost many more votes, actually, to the Liberal Democrats, directly to Labour, or traditional Conservatives who just sat on their hands and stayed at home. And they're the ones who are now feeling politically homeless. And this is about, and, you know, some of them did lend their vote to the Lib Dems. And this is about saying, many of those people who were disappointed with what they did in 24, how do they come back to the Conservative Party?
Do you believe that in the last election, the Tory party moved more towards a Liberal Democratic viewpoint, hear me out, than it did a Farage viewpoint? Do you believe that is an absolutely acceptable criticism, which is why so many Tories left the Tory. But I'm going to be honest with you, Andy. I am the example.
Yeah,
I'll tell you my story. I've told it before. I've never told it to you. I'm doing an interview with a Tory MP and a would-be Reform councillor or MP, and the Reform guy says, I'm after strong borders, more policemen and women on the streets, low taxation, I'm going to sort out the NHS, I'm sick of law and order, blah, blah, blah. And before I could even ask a question, the then Tory MP who lost his seat, and I wouldn't disrespect him, said, that's far-right politics. And I remember thinking, no, mate, that's not far-right politics. That is exactly what I was brought up to vote for as a Tory voter for 50 years, and you've just lost my vote. That's me being completely honest.
None of those things are far-right politics that you just described, Torbjörn. And you asked me about the last election, so let's just explain one or two things. Yes, this country did, under the last Conservative government, have too high tax rates. Yes, it did. It probably didn't incentivise work well enough. So what this movement will be saying with businesses is, how are we going to get taxes down to make work pay, to deal with the welfare state, get back to some of those real core Conservative ideas? And so part of why we lost the last election was we were not strong enough on those economic issues. And that's going to be the tip of the spear for this work.
In terms of Prosper, you say it's an independent movement. Will you share your ideas with Reform as much as you will with the Tories?
It's a very interesting question. We will put our ideas out there for everybody, frankly, the Lib Dems, for Labour, and we're not run by the Conservative Party. That's one of the big advantages. I am a very proud Conservative. I've definitely been fighting the Conservative cause across the West Midlands for years. We'll continue to do so. But the independence of this movement, independent thinking, mean we will certainly be able to put our ideas out. And you know what? One of the good things about independent thinking, it'll bring new people, maybe academics, in to work with us who perhaps wouldn't be prepared to work directly with one of the main parties. So, yeah, it's got to contribute to the debate.
Do you think it's one of the things that a lot of parties, I've heard Kemi talk about this, do you think it's one of the problems with government is a great need to cut red tape, cut business taxes, simplify planning, create a stable sort of pro-enterprise environment? Do you think that's important?
One word answer, yes, I certainly do. I mean, my whole background was in business. You may know I ran John Lewis for 10 years before my political career. And let's just take one real bread and butter issue as a good example of this: housing. Everyone says we need more homes, but you talk to property developers and they would say the regulation around it is now so intense. It takes years to get anything through the planning system. And even once it's got planning, there's other regulatory approvals all the time. They've got their money tied up, so schemes are not viable. So categoric one-word answer, yes, we do have to cut out regulation. But of course, you always have to remember some of it's in the interest of consumers and employers, and you can't have a complete free-for-all. So this movement has got to actually do the hard thinking about where does the balance sit there.
So we're mates, we've spoken, we'll continue to speak. I have a job to do and you've a job to do. You say Prosper believe that it will be good to cut red tape, cut business taxes, simplify planning and create a stable pro-enterprise environment, yeah? That's what you said yes
Correct.
to. Well, that's
yes,
official
definitely.
Reform policy, so why do we need Prosper?
Because we...
Just ask him, Bud, we're friends.
No, that's fair enough, fair enough. So, because have Reform done the hard work about how these things are actually going to be turned into firm proposals? Let's just look at the welfare issue, for example, with Reform. One moment they say they want to cut welfare benefits, and the next moment they say they're in support of the removal of the two-child benefit cap. You can't have it both ways. So what Prosper is going to do, where it is free from being in Parliament at the moment, of course, what it will do is the really, really tough work on how these things become practical.
Let me ask you about this. This is everywhere. I don't know, I'm never quite sure. That's it, you can see. What do you make of this Burnham stuff? You were a great mayor in the West Midlands, and fair play to you with your new idea. Listen, I'm probably going to say the wrong thing. Is he the self-styled king of the north, or is he just good at publicity? Is he really improved Manchester? Is he really as popular and as, I don't know, Messiah-like as he wants us all to believe, Andy?
I don't think any politician's a messiah, honestly, Jeremy. That's a bit far, isn't it? But, you know, I know him very well. We worked on lots of issues together because although we were different parties, there was a common bond between being mayors. And he has done a good job in Manchester. That is apparent. Maybe not everything everyone would have wished, but he has done a good job representing and cheering for Manchester. And actually, if you look at the economic performance of Manchester, that has been pretty solid. So there's a really important point about mayors deliver outcomes. So looking at it from my perspective, you have to say that it's good that the mayoral role has sort of come of age, and I hope that Andy Burnham and myself and others actually did do that, because that is good for British politics.
Do you think he will? Do you think he'll either make a good leader or will be the next leader of the Labour Party?
That's a different issue. It's very different being mayor to leading that. I do not think he will be the next leader of the Labour Party, because I think you can see all the forces in the Labour Party trying to stop him there. But that, you know, that's their internal machinations. But I would just make an obvious point. It's very much around personalities, isn't it, rather than ideas and dealing with the issues facing Britain. And what our movement is trying to do is say, let's put the personalities in Westminster and let's get on and do the hard yards of the planning around the country.
Will you do me a favour? I've loved this, and you are dedicated, and you're standing in the rain. Will you come on again? Great to have you on. Oh, I haven't asked you the most important question, have I, Street? What do you make of old Sue Ellen Braverman leaving yesterday? What do you make of the defections?
Well, I think actually what Kemi said about this before the Sue Ellen defection was right. We've actually got to know who is on board and who is not. Politics is a team sport. Interesting comparison with your previous question. And if someone in your team is undermining you, you do actually need them to go. So the decision's been made and the Conservative Party will move on. It's never bigger than just one person. So we know who's on board.
Do you think there are any more? And final question apart from that is, do you think Farage runs the risk of being accused of taking too many Tories on board?
Yes, I do. So you said you talked earlier about the malaise of 24, and one of Farage's big advantages has been something new, and there is a huge risk that that will be diminished in this. Actually, I don't know about anybody else. I'm not in the parliamentary party. I don't know that at all.
Great to have you on. Great. Seriously, fair play to you, man. That's dedication. He set up a new political movement. It's going to be like a think tank with Ruth Davidson, Andy Street, former mayor of the West Midlands, telling us about Prosper UK, and more of that on Talk Breakfast in the coming months. 18 minutes to 9.